I'm in the doctor's office. One of the most amazing scenes occurred. The waiting room was totally packed. Maybe the doctor should have been a little bit more on time. But all of a sudden, we're listening, and one woman calls another one liberal. Another one calls another one conservative. One starts talking about who has the right to be able to speak English. One talks about why don't we all speak English. Another talks about why do people speak Spanish. Another one talks about the Tea Party. I've never heard anything like this. It was almost funny listening to these people. It was like listening to Fox, MSNBC, and CNN all on one channel. And I sat there and I couldn't understand why people were so split up. And it's because we allow media and ourselves to be split up. We forget that we are Americans in this country. We are one. We are not African. We are not Jewish. We are not Italian. We are not white. We are Americans. We are American Africans. We are American Jews. We are American Italians. We are American Hispanics. It's time we all start looking at ourselves that way. We are so busy allowing the media and everyone to split us up into little groups that no one ever ends up being happy, and we end up fighting one another over a shrinking pie. How much better would it be that instead of hearing about African American children, we hear about American children who are not being taught correctly or being given rights to be able to live and be what all Americans are. This country was built as America. Initially, we had the Articles of Confederation. People sat around and considered themselves members of the state, citizens of the state, not of America. It took the founders, the geniuses, to put together a constitution and later with a Bill of Rights to be able to let people understand that we are Americans. Americans. America is the stew. Our ethnicity is the spice. The stew, the soup, is what the base of what everything is. It's the spices that make things taste so good. And if we start looking at ourselves as Americans and as our ethnicity, our past, where we come from, as the spice that spices it up, that makes it taste good, that makes things happen, we can start looking at ourselves as one instead of a group of or a tribe of people that are all separate and apart. Do you think the Middle East looks at us as separate African Americans, white Americans, Hispanic Americans? Do you think that Europe or South America looks at us that way? They all look at us as Americans. If we look at ourselves as Americans, we can be one. We can work on the pie. Let's grow the pie. Instead of everybody looking at the pie, the shrinking small pie, and saying, I want my piece, let's talk about growing the pie. The American pie. So we all have that piece, but that piece gets bigger and bigger because we care about one another, because we care about ourselves as Americans. Being a tribe, a member of a tribe, is self-limiting. It is self-limiting. But being an American and having that spice of the ethnicity thrown in gives us special views of the world, but we all understand that we all have the same rights and all of the same benefits as being an American. It's time we start calling ourselves Americans. American children that have problems. American soldiers that are out there. Americans. And let the media forget it. Don't split us up. You are and I am an American African. I am an American white. I am an American Jew. I am an American Indian. I am an American. And when we all start understanding that, we don't get self-limited into these little tribes that I spoke about earlier. It is important. Vocabulary is so important, people think it isn't. Let us come together and remember, America is the soup. Our ethnicity is the spice. It makes it taste good, but it's not the soup. You eat vegetable soup, you throw in spices. You eat split pea soup, you throw in spices. That's how this country works. That's how this country gets great. We come together as one, as Americans.